What's up? This is Tariq. Alright, just a week ago, Zwift announced that they are pausing or canceling the hardware plans they had previously announced, and unfortunately, this means the layoff of upward of 150 employees that were mostly working on the hardware division. These plans included a smart bike that resembled their virtual Tron bike and a smart direct drive trainer, and these were anticipated to be released sometimes later this summer, fall. This is interesting timing, as just a couple of weeks ago when I talked about Wahoo's acquisition of RGT and their attempt to develop a subscription-based revenue stream, I commented that I wondered how Zwift would react to Wahoo taking on more of the software side of indoor training. But in that comment, I mentioned that Zwift too had their foot in the door of hardware creation themselves, making Wahoo and Zwift sort of running head-to-head in this at-home fitness market space. Zwift hardware ambitions have been years in the making. So let's go back in time. In 2019, job postings in Zwift career pages indicated Zwift was working on creating a new fitness technology division responsible for the production of new hardware. Zwift released a statement to DC Rainmaker. While Zwift Fitness Technology Division is a new addition to the business, this news will come as a surprise to few in the industry, and the picture has more depth than manufacturing our own hardware. We know it is no easy task to create hardware. Our industry partners have years of trusted experience, and our priorities as a business will continue to center around our core business as a software platform. Zwift has not been so secretive about their hardware ambition. That could be on purpose, or they are just not so good at keeping secrets. Either way, again, in June of 2020, during the height of the pandemic, they sent out a survey asking if you would purchase a stationary bike with an attached screen designed for Zwifting instead of your trainer or indoor bike. Just another teaser that indicated they might be working on a Peloton-style indoor bike. Think about that. A bike with a screen, you get on, Zwift turns on and is immediately connected to the bike. No need to worry about pairing anything other than your heart rate monitor. But do you want to be possibly locked into using one cycling app? Do you? And by the way, if you find this video helpful, I would appreciate it if you quickly hit that like button. It helps the channel and the video quite a bit, and I really appreciate it. But the biggest leak came in last December, and yes, you guessed it, in another Zwift survey showing the Zwift bike that looked a lot like the Tron bike with cool LED lights and everything, and also the Zwift wheel, as they called it in the survey, which is their version of the direct drive smart trainer. Zwift later sort of confirmed they are looking into different hardware products with plans to be released sometimes later this year. Hardware equipment has always acted as a way to get the customer entrenched in the product or service, and it seems Zwift has always looked at the Peloton as an example of where they wanted to be. They wanted to offer a one hardware software solution to simplify onboarding users into its platform, and possibly as a way to lock them into their ecosystem. However, while things looked very promising for the at-home fitness segment at the start of the pandemic, we have now seen a sharp decline. Just look at the Peloton as an example. They missed their third quarter revenue estimate and marked their first ever year-over-year decline in sales since the company went public in 2019. Basically, it seems as if everyone who wanted a high-end smart bike or a smart trainer bought one at the height of the pandemic. Bike trainer companies are now sitting on large inventory stemming from the over-ordering during the pandemic, and now they have just too much inventory sitting in warehouses, which is also costing them a lot of money. According to a statement released by Zwift, we did not think it was a wise move to launch a high-end trainer or a high-end smart bike at this time. There are products existing on the market that are already available. They continued on saying that we do not want to be fighting for this space. The intent was always to grow the market, not to go into hand-to-hand combat with those hardware manufacturers. This makes me wonder if they weren't actually as far along in the hardware production as they alluded, or possibly they ran into some manufacturing or supply chain issues that made it too costly for them. Anyway, I think this is a smart decision by Zwift given the current climate. Hopefully this gives them the ability to focus more on what they do best and let hardware companies do what they do best and hopefully closely collaborate with them rather than compete with them. So, where does this leave Wahoo? Wahoo has also been struggling in the current climate and cutting staff as well. Wahoo has generated strong year-over-year revenue growth of 38% in fiscal 2021, driven mostly by the strong demand for its trainers during the pandemic. But just like everyone else in the at-home fitness segment, Wahoo is experiencing a drop in sales in its trainers due to the fact that it seemed like everyone who wanted a Wahoo kicker probably bought one during the pandemic. They are also facing a lot of challenges due to ongoing supply chain. Wahoo released 2 products so far this year, the PowerLink pedals and the Roller Smart Trainer. Both were planned to be released earlier but were delayed because of manufacturing and supply issues that seems to be causing many companies to delay or pause the launch of new products. Then you have intense competition from other companies like Elite, Cirrus, but particularly the large competitors such as Garmin and maybe to a lesser extent Peloton. Also, you cannot ignore the high inflation we are hitting into. That will leave consumers with less discretionary money to spend on upgrading or purchasing a new premium smart trainer. But Wahoo also has a good record of successful new product launches, particularly as we get closer to the indoor riding season. So it will be interesting to see what comes from Wahoo later this summer, fall, and if these new products will trigger consumer spending again. But what about Wahoo's reaction to the rumors of Zwift possibly getting into their turf? We all know here that Wahoo sort of relied on indoor cycling apps, particularly Zwift, to sell their smart trainers. But with the 2 recent cycling apps acquisition and the creation of Wahoo X, their new subscription service that gives you access to Wahoo system, and Wahoo RGT cycling app, 2 apps for the price of 1, they have created a new revenue stream that can be extremely valuable for Wahoo if they can attract new cyclists or steal some from Zwift. And they are not totally reliant on Zwift or Trainer Road to provide the virtual cycling experience or training system. Also, subscription services can be a huge revenue stream for companies. Peloton subscription has been growing rapidly year over year, and as of the last reported quarter results, it represented 38.4% of total company revenues. Just think about that. So, depending on what Wahoo ends up doing with Wahoo X, they do have an opportunity to build the walls higher and higher around their ecosystem by incorporating their Wahoo X into their hardware and make it more enticing for people to use their hardware and software. And that can end up being a dud for Wahoo or a major revenue stream for Wahoo. And that is one thing Zwift won't be able to do at this time. But then that puts Wahoo in direct competition with Zwift, and Wahoo sort of relies on Zwift to sell bike trainers, and Zwift sort of relies on Wahoo, but as we have seen in the past, Zwift also hasn't been so quick implementing new features to support some of Wahoo's products, such as steering on the Wahoo bike and Wahoo's Direct Connect, which took Zwift around a year or so to implement. And just one last thing, what made Zwift so popular is a sense of community. I know, some don't care for that, but that's what made Zwift so popular. As a matter of fact, according to at-home fitness research done by the McKinsey Group, creating a sense of belonging and community for consumers in every segment dramatically improves consumer loyalty, increases word-of-mouth advocacy, and offers higher lifetime value. Also, per that same research, fitness consumers cluster around elements such as motivation, personalization, price consciousness, time sensitivity, and desire for innovation. Plenty of things to think about for both Wahoo, Zwift, and others in this industry as they navigate the next few months or possibly years. But for now, rip the real world Tron bike. You'll just have to ride more often on Zwift to get one, a virtual one. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.